And there's still people coming.
Yeah.
So welcome everyone. So lovely to have so many of you here. I know people are still popping in the waiting room. I was just on another call with some people that I know are coming here now. Must be a long way down that corridor. And so
I demand being a co-host. I demand being a co-host.
Oh, go on then. I'll make you co-host. And so what we've done is shared with you in advance a recording from our coach Rehan in Riyadh, and her coachee, of course, very kindly allowed people to be able to listen to that recording, which is fantastic. And what's happening in this session is Samira will be live mentor coaching Rehan on the coaching from that session. Okay, so I don't want to do this as a teacher, as if you've done your homework, although it's really useful for us to know. How many of you, put a thumbs up if you did manage to listen to that half-hour recording? Okay, so the recording, if you didn't, don't worry, we'll send it afterwards. So this is being recorded. You can listen to the recording of the actual session again, should some bits not quite make sense. But the idea is blending the feedback in terms of who we're being as a coach, what we're doing as a coach, the skills we're using as a coach, or from the CoachMe model, enabling the mentee, who is the coach, to reflect on their professional practice, and of course, getting feedback mapped to the ICF core competencies. So I'm now handing over to Samira and Rehan, and thank you very much for everyone attending.
Everyone. Now, I already posted the recorded session in the chat. It will take some time for it to download because it's a little bit big file. Rehan, I will ask your permission just to give me around 10 minutes to give an overview on what we're going to do today. And then we will have our long-awaited conversation. I mean, I've been doing this, wanting to do this for Rehan since, I don't know, last year. Here we go. Okay, so as usual, I need to prepare our playground, right? So welcome everyone to CoachMe Community Cafe event. This is part of how we train our mentors during our mentor coaching certification, which is facilitated by me and other great CoachMe facilitators. It's a part of our program, which is CCE, and maybe even Claire can recap on this a little bit later. So in our model, in CoachMe model, we use different areas of looking at opportunities. So it's the CoachMe model for coaching, CoachMe model for mentoring, and the same model is used for supervision as well. So we look at the skills, the knowledge the coach has in terms of when we are mentoring them, their behaviors in the session, before the session, after the session, what results they're looking at, what actions they can take to improve, how they will improve. The transition planning is one of the beautiful things within our model. And of course, the reflection part. We are so into reflection to the extent that Claire and myself actually wrote a book about it with other magnificent coaches from around the world. Yeah. So for those who are new, I didn't meet. I always thought, Claire, I'm popular, but not that popular yet. So my name is Samira Baba. I've been serving organizations, now I can say safely, globally, but mainly in the region, in Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi, Kuwait. And currently, I'm also, in my spare time, I love creating tools. So if at end of the session, we will actually show the link of the Smiro. Whenever you click on any image, it will take you to the resources you can find downloadable. You don't need to subscribe, and download whatever you want from the games and tools that we have, right? So I'm an ICF MCC. Yay, I just got my so long awaited ICF Advanced Team Coaching credential. I'm also an IC Agile. I'm a peer reviewer for Quality Matters. What else, Claire, I do? Yes, I'm also a practitioner, a senior practitioner with the MCC and a supervisor. So maybe a Scrum Master. And I keep moving around a lot of stuff. So, in mentoring, when we do coach training programs, I share with my colleagues in the training, in coach training programs, we are trained actually to become better coaches, because that's the experience of 15 weeks being in that process. In mentor training program, we turn into become better coaches, because we look at the coaching from a mentoring and assessment perspective. So we understand, oh, okay, that's why the competencies are, and this is how the competencies are assessed. In the supervision space, I think we become better human. That's my take. And when we are trained as supervisors, we just become more grounded in our practice and more humble, I would say. I wonder what's your take on this, Claire?
Yeah, one thing that supervision training and being supervised and practice did for me was enabled me to slow down and really reflect on what's happened, be more conscious of myself in the moment, and then reflect that thing of integration, choosing the way that I need to show up for clients in future. And that restorative element of supervision is something that's it needs advertising more.
I know. I'm just anticipating the future, saying that it might be a mandatory requirement for coaches to have from ICF. I'm just assuming. Allow me to be experimental here. It might be. I think because of the need itself, right? So we were talking about, John, my colleague here, is quite aware of the idea of feedback. We were talking about the feedback recently and the performance and what feedback really means in terms of coaching. So let me take you here. Okay. So of course you can, if you are aware of how annotation works, which of these images represents you in your last feedback session, regardless of what the feedback was for? So you can write it in the chat, you can annotate on the screen itself. There's a small pen-like icon on the side of the screen. You can click that and make a circle on this. Okay. Okay. Wafa. Olga. Okay. Linda. Lovely. Rehan. Yeah. John. Excellent. Last feedback session. Look at it. When whoever joins our programs, the first thing I will ask them, if I had the opportunity to talk to them before the session, why are you joining a coach training program? Usually they say, because I want to help people. I want to help others. And my take is that excellent. In the process, we help ourselves, right? So part of being a mentor for coaches is also helping the coaches to up their game. Giving feedback is not an easy thing. A lot of our I come across a lot of people who say, Samira, is it okay to give feedback on someone's performance? Hey, performance is something that we need to look at, right? We do have a duty, actually, to, let me just bring this, to help the coaches to up their game. So if we look at, I'm going to send you a link for the ICF mentor duties. You will find that part of our duty is actually to give feedback to the mentees. Yeah? So we want our mentees to be the best. And by mentees, I mean the coaches. So there are different types of feedback. Let me take you to this one. For example, in this image, if I tell you, can you find me, where is the orange juice mixer? Can you circle it?
Somewhere hidden.
It is hidden, but listen, can you find it? You know the orange juice mixer? Yay, someone found it. Okay, good. How about, can you find me the slippers?
Oh,
Yeah, Rehan, wow, you're alert. Can you find the, what do you call that, Claire? The three-leaf cloth. You know, the Irish symbol. My
I
bad.
know
that one.
And
Yeah.
you've got a green top on as well, John.
I
Yeah.
have indeed. Yes, I can tell you what it is. I'm not sure I can find it. It's the shamrock. Yes, there it is.
Yeah. So this is kind of the feedback, I call it the hidden feedback. I mean, if we take it from a mentoring and coaching and perspective, I might not tell the mentee what is my feedback. You know, if you look at the session, there are some areas that you might be using some close-ended question. Where is it? Yeah. You ask some of the questions were leading. Where are they? We don't know. It's a hidden one. We don't know where is it. So that's a hidden feedback. Not welcome. Not welcome. We are coaches. So bravery is one of the, and clarity is one of our values, right? So hidden feedback shouldn't be used in mentoring, right? So let's take it to another type of feedback. I call this a glazed feedback. What do you mean by glazed feedback? Any idea? Do you like the glazed donut?
oh.
Sugar coated, yeah. So it's like, oh, your questions were great, and some of the questions can be, but the questions were excellent. Your presence was amazing. That's not helping. That's 500 calories in one shot, right? It's just glazed with a lot of sugar. That's not the feedback we want to give, specifically for people who are going for their ACSTH path or portfolio path, because other assessors will be assessing the work of this coach. Glaze coaching is not useful. Then sometimes, you know, even in terms of leadership, we'll say, hey, how do you want to receive your feedback? Direct. Okay, your coaching, your questions are not okay. It's like a dynamite, explosive. Yeah? 9 out of 10 people say, we love direct feedback, but that's not the way. They don't. So you say, oh, in minute number 7, I thought you were actually leading the client. You did. You were self-centered there. That's not the way to give it. It's not helpful feedback, right? It's very aggressive. Suhair is saying, you're right. Actually, our feedback should be like a gift. You know, a gift, the best wrapped, beautifully helpful, future-oriented, feed forward on how the coach can use this to improve their skills, their practice, their being in the session. Yeah. So this is the types of the feedback. Have you ever heard about the emperor's new clothes syndrome? I think, Claire, you did. Anyone else? Any take? Katy, she said yes. Katy, would you want to explain this to us? What is the emperor's new clothes syndrome?
Where people went along with what the emperor said, even though it didn't match what they were observing. So they'd say, we love your outfit, but there he is in not undressed.
Hmm. Yeah, this is the story of that emperor, loving new clothes. And some people, they said, scammers, they said, oh, we have a new clothes for you, but there were no clothes. And then people from outside, actually a child in the market, he laughed and said, oh, the emperor is naked. See, I don't want my client to take that recording or their coaching practice and go out there and they say other people, specifically the clients, come and say, well, you're not trained as a good coach. I don't want that. I want to be brave enough to walk the walk with the clients, whether they're our own students, which is usually way much more smoother because they are trained on our way of feedback. But when I receive people from outside, I need to tell them, listen, this will not help you in passing because it has certain flaws. Do you want me to tell you? Do you want the assessors to tell you? Yeah. No. And sometimes people are so much into it, they don't see it. Right? I mean, specifically as mentor, part of our job is giving feedback on the recorded session, and that I would consider that 30% of our work. But the remaining 70%, we need to guide them through the coach knowledge assessment, which is the credentialing exam, the requirements, the contracting, all other things, the ethical practices, the preparation. And sometimes I ask them, you reviewed the competencies. What competencies? Right? It's like we don't know. We've been actually, I see this two ways. One is being in the water, being in the coaching is so part of them that they don't see it as a separate, set alone competency. This is just who they are, or they are totally not aware of it, not aware of the code of conduct, on the ethical practices, or what they need to do in the session. Yeah. So I'll stop here. Any reflections you want to share with what I've shared so far? Okay. Can I ask Rehan to join? Rehan.
Hello, I'm here.
Hello, Rehan. So we've heard your session, Rehan. Thank you for allowing us to reflect together on this session. Rehan, you know this has been recorded. With your permission, of course, towards the end, if you want us to publish this on YouTube, totally fine. Tell us, Rehan, how
Yes,
do you want to run these 15 minutes of mentoring?
you mean the way you mentor me? Would you like to have parts of the recording in front of everyone and then we have feedback on it, or I don't mind anything. And for the recording,
Whatever question you want to answer. Yeah. So we listen to it and we can, one is the way of mentoring. So would you want me to go competency by competency, give you a holistic overview, direct, indirect? Let me experiment that.
or let's say a combination of both would be perfect. I like a direct feedback, but to be honest, in a nice way. I think this is the best way to say.
Okay, nice. Well, I believe I'm nice as well, Rehan. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's worth mentioning that this is an old recording,
Mm.
and I took permission from the client to record it for educational purposes. So
Thank you.
don't worry about that if you publish that yet.
Thank you. Of course, Rehan, after the session, you will receive a report which looks something like this. You know, we've practiced this before. It's a detailed on the, I use the PCC markers. I know, Rehan, you're already a PCC coach. Down the road, inshallah, ya Rab, I will be in your journey for your MCC. So then we will use the MCC bars in that regard. Certain areas you hit some MCC bars in this record, right? So you receive this with some comments on side, strength areas, improvement areas towards the end. And I totally am aware of where the session was, and it is an old recording, but thank you. It's a good experiment for us to do it together. So I'm going to send this to you after the session. Is that okay?
Thank you very much. Yeah, sure.
You're most welcome. So Rehan, what's your take on this session?
It was a quick recording, and the client knew it was to be recorded, so we didn't go so deep in that one. Also, we had a good rapport because I coached her a couple of times. And she used to call me my therapist, and I was like, no, no, no. I'm a coach, not a therapist. So it took me a couple of times, a couple of sessions to refer to our first agreement and my explanation about what coaching is. She had no idea about coaching. So in that session, she didn't call me therapist, and I was so happy. Finally, she knows the difference.
Yeah, I've heard that. And this brings us, Rehan, to something that, you know, I always repeat. We need to have a induction phase with the client before starting the coaching. So 1 or 2 sessions where we, especially I noticed that the client was not a trained coach as well, right? So sometimes in recorded sessions, the client is a trained coach, so they might be more aware on how coaching works, but this client wasn't. Am I, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, she had no idea what coaching is, and she wanted to know, so we started. She liked it a lot, but it took her some time to know the difference, although I explained, but I think you're right. So my take on this one is to go deeper in the discovery call and in the induction session or whatever. So we make sure that they understand, then we start.
Sure. Yeah. So it's like a 2 or 3 sessions, the definition of coaching, how is that different? How will that help them? Even values, the insights, their aspirations, their knowing the client and they know us, that will glue the relationship down the road. John, maybe you will agree because that's the school you come from, relational coaching. Yeah.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah. So yes, in terms of knowing that the session was recorded, because you mentioned that in the session, and using the first name as well is recommended. And feed forward. I've seen some good practices as well, where instead of saying everything is as usual, except this session is recorded, I can also, and this is a feed forward, nothing wrong with what you did. Thank you for allowing me to record this session, as opposed to this session is recorded, which means I kept the client on spot saying, oh, the session is recorded. But thank you means indicates that you already took the permission from the client and the client knows that this session is recorded. And only you also mentioned nicely, this is for my assessment or mentoring purpose. Yeah. So when we look at the session goal, what's your take on that area?
I think the goal was fulfilled because she was hopping from one thing to another, and it was a short session. So at the end, she felt it was she was fulfilled and she liked it. So I think goal was fulfilled.
Yeah. So there were different attempts to clarify the goal from the coach, met. At minute 3, the goal was mentioned by the client, and there was in minute 6 acknowledgement as well from you to see what is the outcome will look like. So here we are talking about 3.1, 3.2 done, but you also asked the question around the importance of this goal. See, in the mentoring part on assessing the recorded session specifically, I, as an assessor, look at the behavior of the coach, not the behavior of the client. So if the client set the goal and the KPI of the session and the importance, and the coach did not acknowledge, that is not met, because that's the client's work, not the coach's work. So when the client is offering something, when the coach acknowledges it, then that's met. So for me, 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, all 3 of them are met, right? It could be feed forward. How many strategies? To be more specific, when we talk about SMART objective, how many strategies you want to learn in order to eat healthy, for example. Yeah. 3.4 is a critical marker, and it's a very helpful one, right? So for this session, it wasn't met, but how would that look like? So 3.4 is coach partners with the client to define what the client believes they need to address in order to achieve what they want to accomplish. Some of the ways, some of the hundreds of ways, some of the ways. So Naveen, what will happen in this session that will help us to achieve your goal? This could be one way. For example, Naveen would say, I will be more open and honest. I will not deny my own feelings. That could be one of the things. If opportunity comes, you might actually flip that as well. Or you might actually bring it from a previous work. For example, what will not allow us to achieve this session goal? If I was too critical of myself. So if that happens in the session and you as a coach said, okay, so Naveen, what do you want me to do when that happens? So she said, point it out. I give you the permission. Challenge me. Right? So down the road, when the client is going in circles, I say, no, this will not work. This will not work. This will not work. I'm just being judgmental. So you say, oh, will you allow me to share something? In the beginning of the session, you said, if I kept declining my own ideas, it will not allow us to achieve the session. And you gave me permission to challenge you. Do you allow me to challenge you now? So do you see that the 3.4 is very helpful. Actually, we need to do this in the foundation level of our relationship. What do you want me to do when I find you going in circles, for example? Go ahead, Rehan, you wanted to share something.
Yeah, and it's part of the agreement also when you say that and you refer to it. This is one thing. Also, other ways that you mentioned, there are hundreds of ways. How would you like us to start the session? How would you like to end the session? Something that like that. Or I know that you like this. How would you like us to do that in connection with whatever? So we hit a couple of markers together. Yeah.
I know, because sometimes coaches will say, oh my God, Samira, my client goes in circles, and sometimes they say some action points, they come in the next session, they don't do it, because we need to have that conversation on how we will show up as coaches with that behavior as well, okay? So when we move to competency 4, if I'm moving too fast, let me know. When we talk about competency 4, it's about trust and safety. In that session, it was, how do I know? Never in the session, you decline any idea that the client brought. You did not dismiss their way of thinking. Yeah. You did not say, well, I think, not use that. Usually you see it even from the lightness of the session.
I think it's always created throughout the sessions, before the coaching relationship and throughout the sessions. So if there is an excellent rapport, you know, that has been created before. It's not only now. That's why it flows smoothly.
Throughout the session, right? These are the markers that we need to see throughout the session. When we look at competency 4, it's a very critical competency. Without trust and safety, to be honest, we cannot go deep. Yeah? We cannot go deep. We will do process coaching or task-based coaching, or whatever the client is bringing on the top of the iceberg, but we cannot go deeper.
Sure.
Yeah? So 4.1, 4.2, 4.3 from markers met. 4.4, so you've done a behavior, one behavior that showed this, and 4.4 is a marker that we want to see it throughout the session. So what does that mean? In a nutshell, the coach is partnering with the client, invite the client to respond in the way the coach contributes. Yeah. So for example, from 0 to 10, where do you find this? And he said, oh, 10. 10 is high. If you want to flip that, will you allow me? I might be wrong. 10 sounds like high. So you're inviting. I might be wrong, because it might be high for Rehan. It might be very normal for the client. Client is looking at 20 at 10. Right? I noticed that your energy shifted. I might be wrong. Will you allow me to share an observation? I noticed you talked about X 3 times so far. Will it be useful? So here you're partnering with the client to see, and you're also allowing a space to decline it. So you're not attached. How is this landing with you, Rehan?
Great, because at the same time you are testing the waters. Is that what they want, or they have the choice to shift to another thing? And as you said, I'm not attached to the idea. So great.
This can also show in, for example, so I've heard you talking about the habits of eating healthy. And you talked about the strategies and ways of thinking. Which one of these will be more useful to move forward? And maybe other things, maybe maybe there are other things you want to do. Please feel free. So here you are totally partnering, you're leaving it to the client, sharing contribution and being non-attached. Yeah. 5, maintaining presence. Excellent observations there. Maintaining presence with the who of the client. What are your values around that? Yeah. Staying with the what, the goal of the session. Curiosity, what else you think about it? What are you feeling? What are you hearing? Right? What can be better down the road? Few tips. Yeah. The coach partners with the client to choose what happens in the session. You did it once. You said, we have 15 minutes to go. What else you want to do? Once. I want to see it throughout. Yeah? So you talked about having strategies. Where do you want us to start? So you talked about strategies and your system. Which one of these you want to tackle first? So you're letting the client to choose. Out of all what you said, what else you want to explore? But you did it actually. You did it once. We want to see it more. And Rehan, 5 seconds silence before the next question. You did not interrupt the client. You did not, stop them from talking. You waited them till finish. Give them another 3, 4 seconds, 5 seconds. Count 5, if you may. And sometimes before asking the question and after asking the question. So not explaining the question one more time.
Yeah, I think that would be a good strategy, but not with that client. Mashallah, she was super fast.
They
Except-
are. Yeah, they are, Rehan. And they appreciate the spaciousness
Mm, true.
because maybe nobody, this is a new way for them. I'm not sure about Naveen, but it's a new way for other clients when they find someone who is not in rush. I remember seeing a session for Claire, and I was observing that session. It was a live in person. And we were doing the systemic constellation using the space. And the client said, I want to be in the orange space. I wouldn't mention the client, but Claire might remember that. It wasn't in Bahrain, it was in Jordan. And the client looked at Claire, and Claire kept quiet, just looking at the client. And then the client said, she had tears in her eyes, and she told Claire, I feel like you looked through me when I said that. And it was that space that brought the awareness. Now I can say why orange meant to me. And it was a total, very contextual. Claire, do you remember this incident?
I do, yeah, and I think it may be, different ways of wording it. I think it was, I feel like you looked into me somehow.
Yeah, it was something like, and later on she said, it was that space and just staying there and looking at the client, and the client will feel,
Sure.
my coach knows me, they understand, my coach is connected with me.
So, to wait a few seconds more, even if they finish what they say. Okay.
Yeah. Now, for listens actively, for me, vast majority met. Questions are open-ended, majority, only 2 close questions, and you will find the timestamps there. You explore, you inquired about the words. Exploring can be an opportunity. For example, I can see I don't remember the word, the perfect self. You said perfect, and you move toward the next question. Opportunity. What's perfect like for you? What voices come when you talk about what do you imagine when it's perfect? A better version, I think she said. Yeah, in minute 6. A better version. What's better version will look like? So looking at a word and then going one level deeper. Yeah, so that could be an opportunity. You explored the emotions sometimes, what are you feeling? It could also be, you said, I noticed the shift of energy, and I need it only once in a recorded session. It was in minute 26. Was there. Sometimes, if there is no shift in energy and the coach did not bring this, then it's met because there was no incident for it. How do you see yourself? Met. The coach allows the client to complete speaking without interrupting. Met. This is competency 6, listens actively. Improvement, some of the suggestions here. And this is for MCC, Rehan, right? This is for MCC. If I removed Naveen from that conversation and took your questions and brought another client, will it still resonate if it's the same goal? If yes, then there is an opportunity to customize the questions. For example, how do you feel then? What are your thoughts around being healthy? If I'm coaching you, Rehan. But if I'm really going deep, Rehan, as a teacher and educator, how do you see yourself as a healthy person? This question will not make any sense if I'm going to do it for anyone who's not a teacher and educator.
So customizing the questions to, yeah.
Very much. As a mother of 4 kids, living your life, how is this resonating with you? This question is so customized to the person itself.
Mm.
As a
You made me-
football player, yeah, go ahead, Rehan.
Sorry, you made me think of, I would ask her as a chef, how would you, see that? I think that would resonate very well with her.
So when Rehan says, Naveen, you're a chef, right? Yeah. What would a self-aware chef will advise you? What is a chef inside you advising you on this? This question will not make sense with me, for example, though when I love eating and cooking. Yeah. So it's the amount, when I look at the entire questions the coach asks, I would say, if I remove this client from this conversation and brought another client, will it still, is it generic or is so customized to what the coach knows about this client? If they are a ballet dancer, for example, Mark is a reflector, he likes walking in the woods, he loves his dogs. And if I brought that, Mark, as a person who really loves your dog, what's your dog's name, Mark?
Jerry.
Jerry. What's Jerry's take on this? Yeah. If Jerry had the opportunity to give you an advice, what would Jerry tell you about it? So customized. So I'm referring to 6.1. And then 6.7, the coach simply reflects and summarizes what the client is communicating. Here is a good place to, sometimes I understand, Rehan. There are certain clients we need to take notes for them. Maybe we need to reflect what they say, summarize. Down the road, when the relationship is matured, I will leave that with the client. I want the client to be at their best without me down the road. So I would say, would you summarize what you said in one sentence? If whatever you said is summarized in a dish, what would that dish be? Instead of me taking the load of repeating the words, and there was in the session you said, sorry, I'm just repeating this, Yeah. So we put that, especially in team coaching. We need the team to take care of their conversations, their discussions, their insights. How is this landing with you, Rehan?
Perfect. I was thinking about Naveen as a person. And I was like, yes, if I did that, let her, well, actually, I did let her write. She wrote some notes. She summarized some stuff she said, and she chose even the bands, and I let her do things. But I was repeating that. Instead of I repeated that, it was much better if I asked her to do so. And I'm saying what you are saying, not even from coaching viewpoint, also from teaching viewpoint. It's better to let them do by themselves. I love that. Thank you, Samira.
Rehan, the student-centered approach, right? And let learning happen with the learners. Our job is to facilitate the learning for them.
100%.
From a teacher perspective, right? So here, also, you're moving toward your master certified coach now. When I listen to a recorded session for a coach going for master certified coach credential, can I identify which school this coach is from? So this is my general assumption. I might be wrong. I know certain schools, they encourage the writing and then sharing the writing as a gift to their clients. I know certain schools, I wouldn't mention their names. And in that recorded session, I saw that technique. Nothing wrong in that, nothing wrong. But you know the Shuhari model? Sue, follow the rules. Ha, break the rules. Re, create your own rules. So when I listen to a masterful session, I'm not able to identify which school or model this coach is using because they are so fluid. They're not attached to a specific model. Yeah, and I might be wrong there.
Oh, sorry, I lost you for a minute. So you felt I'm from a certain school, or you didn't feel that?
I did feel that.
Oh, referring to taking the notes, yes.
Yeah.
Because in my approach, I'm eclectic. Like I use a combination of things. But yes, you are you are what? You are
Yes.
right. Sorry, you are right about what you said about the school. Yes, as you said, we are not gonna mention the name, but thank you.
Yeah. So sometimes my clients are into drawing, into creating sculptures. So they're using Lego. I leave that with them because I don't know. It might be just my preference. It shouldn't be anyone's preference. It's just letting that part with them, and I reflect after the session. Because maybe I will write a note and put the underline, and when I share that with the client, they will see that's the important, and it wasn't. Right? I'm just putting C, but that's just my take. Don't take it deeper. Just take it at face value. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. Evoking awareness, how you feel about the who, what are your values, what are your take on this, what is next, all met, right? Now, you let the client do the most of talking, except for the summary, because if you are submitting, not this, I'm sure you will know, but if you're submitting a recorded session for ICF, they will require a transcript, right? So in the transcript, if you see it and I colored your input and you're putting lots of summary and recap, your take won't be 20/80 or 30/70. It will be lots of contribution from the coach, repeating what the client is saying. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why your point is valuable about leave it to the client. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah. And then again, 7.5 coach shares without attachment, observation, intuition. There was some opportunities. For example, I noticed your energy shifted. I might be wrong. How was that landing with you? I noticed this might be important, but will you allow me to share something? Will you allow us to experiment something? Something like that will show this competency. It's like you're asking permission and inviting the client and also giving a space for non-attachment. Yeah. Masterful level. Rehan, I noticed in the last 4 sessions, you focused a lot on X. Today, you're talking about Y. What is the relationship between X and Y, if there is anything? You show different level of listening now, different level of being aware. Yeah?
And evoking awareness.
Exactly. If we look at the definition of ICF coaching is thought-provoking partnership between client to see what is potentially possible for them. The remaining part of this definition says in potentially untapped resources. When I look at a session, I evaluate it, and this is for an MCC level. How much of the session the client was repeating things they already know, they're already aware of, and how much of it was new? For example, interesting, Rehan, I don't have an answer for that. Yeah, or let me think about it. I never thought about it from this perspective. This is new. These type of moments shows the untapped part. Thought-provoking. Sometimes, not this session, Rehan, or other. Most of it's like ping pong, Coach asks question, the client answer. Ask, answer, ask, answer. The answers are like ready. A deeper session is like popcorn. The coach asks a question and the client says, you know what? I thought about this was XYZ. I never noticed in it. This new thing happened in my life. That is changing my eating habits. This is the thought. want to be less judgmental. And he said, what's like being judgmental? Where else this is coming in your life? What other areas of your life has the same similar behaviors are coming? Would you think about an incident that what do you think is a close question, right? What other areas the same behavior is coming there? Where else you can take this learning? What is something you never thought about? Totally crazy. 20 years from now, when you reflect on what's happening today in this conversation, what would you tell yourself? Questions that the client never thought. That's the beauty of having a coach.
Yeah. Also, what can you do with the new learning or what you learned in the session?
Yeah, you took us to competency 8, right? So there was action, accountability. There was a request for, what resources you need, reflections you're gonna do. You all said that. What did you learn about the what, the who? How are you gonna take this learning to other areas of your life, and work, and family? Yeah. What shifted in your thinking? Right? And let me just look at this. Yeah. For me, I mean, that's a wrap up. How's this coming up for you, Rehan?
I love how you took it like competency by competency and talked about both like areas of strength, areas to work on or to improve. So as I told you, it wasn't really a deep session because she knew it was recorded. She even changed the topic. But there was some coaching there. So things that you mentioned, first of all, partnering or taking every opportunity in the session to partner with the client. Also, take the opportunity or leave it to the client to speak, like as you said, 80-20 or at least 70-30. So summarizing, it's only like repeating myself. I should avoid that. What else? Oh, and even I don't interrupt, also to wait like a few more seconds. And anything else? Oh, of course, the connecting between like this session, previous sessions, also customizing the questions, the learning. This session is like for you, for example, for you, Niveen. So everything, it's Niveen centered. Anything from the session and from outside of the session. I love that, Samira, as always. I'm very thankful. Thank you.
It's what I love about working with you, Rehan. I mean, you inspire us all, even in the CoachME community. I love the way you show up in our sessions, the way you collaborate with others. And your clients are lucky, Rehan. Thank you for allowing me to be part of
Well,
it.
thank you so much for the opportunity. CoachME, Dr. Claire, Samira. I really love working with you guys. And I learn a lot from all of you. Very thankful, very grateful. Everybody here, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah. So how do you want to wrap up the mentoring part, Rehan, for you?
Well, I think I already did.
Okay. Thank you so much, Rehan. Claire, jump in.
So I've just put in the chat some links. The first one is future community cafes that are happening over the next year. Really appreciate your vulnerability, Rehan. There's a lot of praise for your bravery in the chat. And the evidence from the recording, clearly you're well on your way to your NCC journey, which is fabulous. As ever, thank you, Samira. And the way we're going to do a little bit of appreciation there is if anyone would like to come off camera. You saw the mental coaching competencies from ICF in the chat. The Arabic word for put it really short or to the point is Zubda. So with Zubda in mind, one sentence for Samira. Come off mute if you'd like to.
One,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you, Rihan. The one sentence I'd like to share, Samira, is opening and light and joyful, yet very, very deep and impactful, which is kind of a weird sentence, but that was what my experience of watching New Mentor is.
Katie, not
Perfect
weird at
sentence.
all. Yeah, not weird at all, right? I loved it. I wanted to say similar thing, but I second that. Thank you.
Anybody else? Joaha?
Yes, thank you, of course, Dr. Claire and my mentor, Coach Samira, Rehan, my friend, everyone. Samira and Dr. Claire, I think we are blessed and honored to have CoachME in our society. The creativity, the approach, everything is unique. Samira, inspiring as always. Everything is coming spontaneously. I don't know what to say. I'm I'm inspired. Thank you very much. It's super, super amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joanne.
And for me, in terms of the competencies, there's something really powerful in what we saw about being with the coach where they're at. And of course, with Rehan, she's slightly further on than the recording because of it being an older recording. But that here's where we're at, and here's your stretch. That's what I liked about the feedback. Anybody else before we close?
Claire, so reflective practice and supervision is also for mentors. So what would I do later on? I will look at, something we call it a tinkering process, right? A tinkering process means even us as mentors, when we come in, even the coaches, even the supervisors, it's all supervision on supervision on supervision, super on super. So we look at, it's a playful place. We are trained, all of us are trained. We go and coach, we then mentor, so we play with the tools, and then we play with purpose. We have a little bit of challenge and feedback, and then we look at the outcome. So there is no such thing as perfect certified coach or perfect mentor or perfect supervisor. We don't have. We have PCCs, professional certified coach. It's a very nice designation. That's it. So what I would do later on as a mentor, I will sit down and think about my own practice. What was going on around me? How was I feeling as a mentor in that session? What was I thinking? What did I do? Did it work or not? What else I can do or have done? So I take feedback from Rehan, from Claire, and from others as well. So it's a gift. I said it's a gift. And we are all gifted with this profession, to be honest. We are lucky. We fell in the field. So enjoy it.
Thank you everyone for attending. If you didn't get the recording, some people registered late, just let us know, we can send it across to you so you can do things the other way around. But we always see mentor coaching as seeing competencies upside down and inside out. So what's wrong with doing that the other way around as well? And we hope to see you on the next Community Cafe.
Thank you very much. Bye,
Have
everyone.
a fabulous morning, evening, or afternoon, wherever you might be.
You too.
Thank you so much.
Bye,
Bye.
Bye,
Thank you.
Mark.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, Linda.
you.
Bye, Katie.
Bye-bye.
Bye, John. Bye, Ghada. Bye, Jawahar. Bye, Dictora. Bye,
You
Lamia.
too, Jo. Bye-bye.
Hi, everybody.
Bye. See ya.
And then there was 3.